funny, grab your popcorn. Because what's happening behind the scenes of Disney's Snow White is so messy, it makes Cinderella's stepsisters look classy. The disaster that this remake turned into? Let's just say it's worse than anyone could have imagined. And baby, Rachel Zegler is at the epicenter of the fallout.
There's no doubt that she drove the final nail into this movie's coffin. She probably drove the final 2 or 3 nails into the coffin.
I think Rachel Zegler was miscast. I'm not trying to be shady, but when you see the pictures of her as Snow White, you're like, that's Snow White? She doesn't look happy. She's not really smiling.
So here's the tea. Everything people feared would happen with this movie, it's happening. And worse, executives, PR teams, insiders, they're all scrambling to pin the blame on someone. And guess who's being thrown under the bus? Miss Rachel Zegler herself. Now let's rewind for a sec. According to Variety, the real storm started last August, right after Disney's glitzy D23 event. While fans were barely processing the trailer, Rachel decided to post an Instagram video voicing her support for Palestine. 9 million views later, and Disney's execs were reportedly shaking, like full-on meltdown. Why? Because no one cleared it. It wasn't approved. It was bold, raw, and political, and completely unsanctioned. And then Mark Platt, yes, that Mark Platt, the big-name producer, flew straight to New York. Not for brunch, not for press, but specifically to confront Rachel and demand she take it down. The post, the message, the stance. Disney wanted it gone. But it gets even messier. You see, Rachel plays Snow White, but Gal Gadot, the Israeli actress best known for Wonder Woman, plays the evil queen. Are you seeing where this is going? That dynamic? Volatile. Explosive, a PR nightmare. Sources say Gal received death threats after Rachel's post, which meant Disney had to ramp up security during press events. And it wasn't even Rachel's first brush with controversy. Apparently, producers had already labeled her difficult as far back as West Side Story, her debut that won her a Golden Globe. Imagine, your first big movie, you win awards, and people still say you're hard to work with? But that was just the beginning. Let's talk Trump. After his most recent election win, Rachel didn't hold back. She posted a furious Instagram story calling it another 4 years of hatred and told Trump supporters they'd never know peace. Now that is how you alienate both sides of the political spectrum in one swipe. Conservatives were furious. Liberals, even some of them distanced themselves over her Palestine stance. So what happens when you've got political chaos and creative backlash? Disaster, sweetie. Pure, unfiltered disaster. Snow White wasn't just doomed by controversy. It was already under fire for straying way too far from the classic fairy tale. But when you add in all this drama, it became the perfect storm. A nightmare cocktail of PR meltdowns, online outrage, and industry backstabbing. And let's talk numbers. Because baby, they don't lie. That audience score, 1.8 out of 10. Yep, that's not a typo. That's worse than Dragon Ball Evolution. And the box office? $82 million 0 cents worldwide on a film that reportedly cost somewhere between $250 0 cents to $350 million 0 cents. A flop so massive, even Warner Bros. Execs were probably sending sympathy flowers. To make it sting even more, Snow White cost $70 million 0 cents more than the Joker sequel, which also flopped. One rival executive reportedly said, "You can't spend $270 million 0 cents on a live-action remake of your most iconic movie and have it open to $50 million 0 cents. The math doesn't work. That movie should be a $1 billion movie." And they're not wrong. Even with mid-tier reviews, Snow White should have been an automatic hit, but instead, heads are rolling at Disney. People are already losing jobs behind the scenes. The knives are out. Now people are also noticing a serious double standard. Rachel was reportedly reprimanded for her Palestine post, but Gal Gadot, she made pro-Israel comments during the Israel-Hamas conflict. And cricket, no reprimands, no public backlash, nada. That's led to accusations that Disney's playing favorite, cracking down on one voice while protecting another. But wait, there's more. Remember the 2022 Oscars? Rachel was publicly snubbed. She wasn't invited, even though West Side Story was up for Best Picture. She was filming Snow White in London at the time, and Disney wouldn't release her to attend. But when she publicly complained, the Academy scrambled and gave her a last-minute invite. That move painted Rachel as both bold and entitled in the eyes of the press. And don't forget who launched her career, Steven Spielberg. People are whispering that Rachel's been ungrateful, that she didn't show enough respect to the legendary director who discovered her. That's the narrative floating around. She got the golden ticket and she fumbled the bag. In Hollywood, there's an unwritten rule. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Play nice with the big dogs. Rachel, she went full lone wolf, challenging Disney publicly, posting political messages during promo season. That's a Hollywood no-no. And now she's paying the price. What's wild is that Rachel once called out Gina Carano for her political post when Gina was fired from The Mandalorian. At the time, Rachel played the moral authority. Now, she's in an even worse position. But here's where the plot twist comes in. Social media, surprisingly, has Rachel's back. A tweet praising her courage to not delete her Palestine post blew up. People are applauding her for standing by her beliefs, especially at just 23. They're saying she's got backbone, that she's not a Hollywood puppet. Of course, others aren't buying it. They're saying 23 isn't a baby, you're a full-grown adult. And if you're the face of a Disney tentpole, you should know better. Posting polarizing views while leading a billion-dollar project, risky, doesn't even begin to cover it. Still, the damage is done, and now, Rachel's career is on the brink. Hollywood doesn't do risky. Studios are already gossiping that she's been blacklisted, that she's now labeled difficult, that she's poisoned for box office success. And Disney? Oh, honey, they're done. Promo materials for Snow White are being yanked from theaters in California days after the movie dropped. That is not normal. That is what we call a quiet burial. Like they're pretending it never happened. Meanwhile, insiders say new contracts will likely include tighter social media clauses, no more free speech for promo leads, no more political hot takes. From now on, you speak when spoken to, darling. And don't even ask about Rachel and Gal's relationship now. It's over. They're reportedly not speaking at all. Tensions exploded when Rachel allegedly called Gal a professional pageant queen at an Oscars event. That one dig reportedly ended their already strained friendship. And guess what? Despite everything, despite the flopping, the PR disasters, the protests, the drama, Snow White will barely make $200 million, 0 cents worldwide. It's a historic loss for Disney, a studio that once felt untouchable. Between Marvel misfires and Star Wars fatigue, Disney's magic is cracking. And now, Rachel Zegler feeds the cautionary tale, the girl who went from Hollywood's rising star to Hollywood's warning label. Studios are watching, TR teams are watching, and aspiring actors, you better believe they're watching. Because in this town, you only get so many chances. And when you mess up on this scale, the road back is long, lonely, and filled with burned bridges. So where does Rachel Zegler go from here? Well, let's just say the fairy tale is over and the cold, hard reality of Hollywood is knocking loud. Some insiders are whispering that Rachel might never headline a major studio film again, at least not anytime soon. She may still land roles, sure, but they'll be quieter, smaller. Think indie dramas, ensemble casts, or maybe supporting roles as the best friend instead of the main princess. And even that will depend on whether directors want to risk the baggage her name now brings. Because Hollywood, it's not just about talent, it's about trust. Can a studio trust you to toe the line, play nice, and not blow up their $100 million marketing campaign with a single post? All right, now, Rachel's answer is a big fat no. And nobody wants to risk becoming the next Snow White catastrophe. What's even scarier? The mental toll this can take. One year, you're the breakout darling of Spielberg's newest masterpiece. The next, you're being iced out of Hollywood like yesterday's news. That kind of sudden fall from grace, especially at just 23. Can crush someone. Public humiliation, lost roles, industry whispers behind closed doors. It's a lot for anyone to take. People who once praised her, who called her the future of cinema, are now pulling away, pretending they never believed in her. It's brutal, and it's Hollywood. And honey, in this town, loyalty is a myth. Now let's talk about Disney. Because they're not walking away unscathed either. This wasn't just a flop. This was a full-blown corporate embarrassment. Snow White was supposed to be a sure thing, a remake of the movie that built the Disney brand. But instead, it's become the poster child for everything wrong with modern Disney. And let's be honest, this isn't just about Rachel. Disney's recent track record, not cute. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is cracking. Star Wars, don't even get started. And their endless parade of live-action remakes, people are tired. The audience is sending a clear message. Stop messing with the classics. Stop injecting politics and just tell good stories again. But Disney didn't listen. They thought they could repackage Snow White, throw in some modern messaging, slap on a trending star, and the money would roll in. But the public didn't buy it, literally. And now, Disney is desperately backpedaling. The studio has already started quietly scrubbing Snow White from its marketing, like actually pulling posters and banners from high-profile locations. That's how bad it is. They're pretending this billion-dollar bet never happened. Just poof, vanished like it was never part of their legacy. And if that's not a sign of corporate panic, I don't know what is. But here's where things get even more twisted. Industry insiders are now calling for a complete reevaluation of how studios handle social media. We're talking new clauses in every contract, no politics during press, no personal posts during promo season, no speaking out unless approved by PR. Recently, stars will have to surrender their online freedom if they want to keep their jobs. Rachel's situation may have been the tipping point. And for the record, she's not the first, but she might be the last straw before the system changes entirely. Studios are watching. Executives are rewriting contracts. Agents are warning clients, all because Rachel Zegler lit a fire no one could put out. Let's rewind to that post that started it all, her message in support of Palestine. At the time, it seemed like a bold, heartfelt political stance. But now, it's being blamed for sinking a 100-year-old fairy tale. And the irony? She refused to delete it. Even with Hollywood giants breathing down her neck, even with her career on the line, she stood her ground. Some say that's brave, others say it's foolish. But either way, it was a move that changed everything. Now, there's one more layer to this mess that really shows how deep the hypocrisy runs. You remember how Rachel once dragged Gina Carano for her controversial views? Rachel was all over social media criticizing Gina for being irresponsible and applauding Disney for firing her. Fast forward to today, now Rachel's the one being painted as toxic, as reckless, as unhireable. It's a full circle moment that has fans and critics alike saying, be careful who you cancel, you might be next. And honestly, it's hard not to feel a little sorry for her, because whether you love her or hate her, Rachel Zegler is still just 23. She's not a seasoned PR expert. She's not a battle-hardened veteran of the industry. She's a young actress who went from singing Disney songs in her bedroom to becoming the face of one of the biggest flops in Disney history. She's made mistakes, but who hasn't? The only difference is her mistakes were made in front of the entire world, and now she's paying the price. Industry analysts say she could claw her way back, but it'll take time and humility, maybe a couple years in the indie film trenches, maybe a redemption arc on a Netflix series. But one thing is clear, Rachel Zegler's Hollywood honeymoon is over. Meanwhile, Disney's trying to figure out what went wrong. How did they take a timeless fairy tale, stuff it with money, glam it up with Gal Gadot, and still manage to burn it to the ground? The answer is painfully obvious. They ignored their audience. They bet on controversy, and they forgot that even the most progressive viewers don't want to feel like they're being preached to at the movies. People want escapism, not lectures, not drama, and definitely not a morality war between their favorite characters on Instagram. The audience said it with their wallets, keep the politics out of our princesses. And the most haunting part of it all, Rachel's story is becoming a cautionary tale across the industry. New actors are watching. They're seeing how one bad press cycle can erase a career, how one brave post can backfire, how being outspoken can mean being out of work, and they're scared. They're adjusting, playing it safe, because the message from Hollywood is now crystal clear. Stay in line or get cut out of the picture. Rachel Zegler stood up for what she believed in, and that choice, whether right or wrong, just reshaped the rules of the game. The curtain has closed on Snow White. The sets have been struck, the posters torn down, the headlines buried, but the impact, the fallout, the whispered warnings from one studio to another, that's not going away anytime soon. And for Rachel, the fairy tale might not be over, but for now, it's definitely on pause.